Yesterday I had a shoot at a restaurant. Everything went well, and after the shoot, I had a chat with the owners. And I asked the question, what's the biggest challenge you're facing in your business right now? And I asked that question because when I was interviewing them, I could sense that they wanted to say something about what they're struggling with, but they didn't really want to say it. And so I kind of flagged it, and that's why I asked that question. What he said was really interesting in response. So I would say they are quite successful. They have multiple branches and they're doing pretty well. And they said they're pretty happy with where they are. But the problem is that they kind of didn't expect the growth at the start because they started off as a hobby. And yeah, it kind of just naturally grew into this business. And they started getting reviews from quite big sort of food media and newspaper articles and all that. So they are quite well known in that sense, or at least in the food scene. And so the problem with that is that they are now put onto this metaphorical pedestal that they didn't intend to. And now everyone, all the customers coming in basically have an expectation of them being the gold standard. When in fact, that's not what they really wanted to say in the first place. That's not what they wanted to achieve in the first place. And so now they have this kind of invisible pressure on them that they have to always be on their game. They can't make any mistakes and they have to be the best, basically. And that is a really, really high pressure situation. And when he said that, I immediately kind of just thought, that is really interesting because I wouldn't have thought about that before. Because usually, especially as videographers and doing kind of making videos for the purpose of them getting attention and marketing, our goal usually is to get as much attention as possible, as many views, followers, all that kind of stuff, and kind of build up the brand, right? And so this is like a really interesting contrast now that, yes, they're getting a lot of attention, they're getting pretty good reviews and good attention, I would say. But the problem is because the messaging is kind of off, that now they are presented as this, like a gold standard in a kind of market where the food is pretty traditional as well. And so that the word traditional also brings another issue in itself, because tradition is a very, very subjective thing. And the fact that they are making everything handmade and it's quite delicate, and they really put their heart and soul into the food, and it's made using really traditional methods from the 60s and 70s. But the issue with that is that everyone has their version of traditional. For example, if you are from, say, I'm from Malaysia, right? I'm Malaysian Chinese, and so my ethnicity is Chinese. My bloodline is Chinese, right? But the problem is, because my family moved to Malaysia a few generations ago, so our identity as Chinese, our traditions as Chinese is different from the Chinese that have grown up in mainland China. And you know, the Indians in Malaysia has different traditions than the Indians in India. So that's kind of an example of how tradition can vary by where you are situated. And, you know, as an Australian Chinese now, it's also really different culture. And so, yeah, what I'm trying to say is everyone has their own version of tradition. And therefore, the word traditional is very much up to scrutiny. And so I guess the biggest thing to kind of think about for them is how can we convey their version of traditional so that people understand that they are not saying that their food is well correct, or I don't know, it's like they're not saying that they are the gold standard, basically. They're just saying that they wanted to just be a casual dining place for people to kind of chill and not be too uptight or too serious. And yeah, it's just like a chill dining situation. And they're using traditional methods, handmade, learned from the father's generation, and kind of passing down the legacy. And I think the story, their passion, their story, everything is I can really see it and I really feel it and I really want to help them. And that's why I'm really trying to think about how this whole issue can be resolved, because I think as videographers, this is a really good reminder for us, because as I mentioned previously, our goal is to get attention and build up following, build up their brand, and just basically help them grow, right? And therefore, usually we go by the metrics of views and followers and all that. But the issue now is that we have to pay attention to what kind of message we are putting out there. You can't just make a video for the sake of them going viral or getting attention, because at the end of the day, the business owners are the one that has to deal with the customers and the customers' expectations. So I think a lot of it is the issue is around expectation setting. And because of all the articles and all the sort of high accolade reviews and awards, they have been basically put on a pedestal. And so therefore they're feeling the pressure to really perform all the time. And honestly, no one can like sustain that for so long without feeling burnt out or drained. And that's why they're kind of struggling in that sense, even though their business is successful on paper. And it's also the fact that they just wanted to make food that is traditional to them and basically brings people together in a casual setting. And so I think that at the end of the day, we just kind of have to maybe shift the framing of how we are presenting the brand, really, and really tell the story of where their tradition came from. And so people understand that they're not saying that their food is the standard and that's the traditional way, or that's the best you can, the example of the best you can get in Australia or something like that. So yeah, I think the moral of the story is that we as videographers, we have to really be conscious about what message we are putting out there for the brand and what expectations are we setting for the customers. Because if the customers have the wrong expectation of the brand, then it's gonna be a problem. It's gonna be a problem because yeah, the business owners are gonna be stressed and they have to keep explaining themselves and they're just gonna feel the pressure, and it's not good. It's not good for anyone. So attention, you have to be careful with it. Not all attention can be good. Like I would say their attention, the attention they're getting is good. The main issue is the kind of message that people are getting and just the expectations they have. And yeah, that's kind of what I wanted to share today about this story, because I think it really kind of taught me something about what we should think about as videographers and how we can help these business owners properly and not just make a video and that's it. And yeah, that's day 15 of me talking to the camera. Bye.